Josh, welcome back to another episode of The Modern Game. I suppose the first question that we can answer is when Prem. But in truth, we are not here to talk about when Prem today. We are here to talk about the new capped modes, the 220s, the 240s, the 270s, and everything in between, and how we are going to approach them. But first of all, how was your weekend? How are you looking? Is the rewards fairy bringing you anything nice today?
Yeah, I'm getting. How many am I getting? In fact, I can tell you, it's the first time I've ever had the Soro data. What a game week! When it says that, have you seen that? When you look on your results and it says,
I didn't know it
"What a game
changed.
week!" Yeah, it does. I don't know which number, but yeah, I'm getting 5 rewards this week, which is good, and one from super rare, 3 rares, and one little limited because I played a little specialist limited this week. But yeah, I imagine yours will say "What a game week" as well, mate.
It does. It does say
There
what
you
a game
go.
week. Yeah, I've obviously not had a what a game week for a very long time, and I couldn't actually tell you what the other message that I get on Survey Data is. But I literally have the exact same set as you. I've got a tier 2 super rare coming in from specialist. I've got 3 rares and I've got a limited. And I also got the last of Threshold as we know it.
Well done.
It should be hopefully a nice rewards day. I'm hoping to get within this little set. I'm hoping to get many options for capped.
Yeah, I was thinking specifically about my my super rare. I was like, "Oh, I want a nice little capped option,"
Yeah.
That'd be lovely. I think there's one. I'm 9th in Challenger Super Rare, and Tier 2 Super Rares pay down to 11th, and they start from 4th. So there's like a bit of a window there. But the one that's like 2/3 of the way down the pool that I want is Aaron Moy, because I could use some Celtic Super Rare midfield backup. But yeah, he's snuck in there like 2/3 of the way down the Super Rare Tier 2 pool. So that'd be the one I'd pick if I could. But we'll see.
Absolutely. I mean, I'm going to be honest. I was having a look. So I think it was I got opted down here. So I was 10th in specialist super rare, which again is sort of like middle to lower end of the tier 2. I was having a look. There's some quite nice cards in there. Few MLS cards. One that stood out for me was Steph Peters. He's always a useful card to have in Belgium. So yeah, there was a few that I would be very happy. For me, like tier 2, anything that plays, I'm happy with. But yeah, I am quite excited. But yeah, I mean, I actually, so I've gone in straight up. We are now recording this as the game week has locked. Game week 342. I've got a couple of cap modes straight in, Josh. I'm not waiting to the weekend. I'm straight in. I'm testing. But what has really fascinated me is the choice, because I know Laird and PSU talked about it on the strategy show last night, but we're used to playing as many divisions as we can. There are suddenly a lot of divisions, and there are very few managers on the platform that are going to be able to play anywhere near all of them, which is going to force a choice. Like, you are going to be limited by the amount of goalkeepers that you have. What I think is fascinating is that, you in capped mode 220, you can use a single player from the scarcity below, and they will be scored. But as you go up to the cap 240, which is your threshold, and the cap 270, you have to use goalkeepers, or every 5 cards have to be of the same scarcity. So there's going to be a real bottleneck on goalkeepers. And what I found fascinating is looking at midweek, and don't get me wrong, I appreciate that it's an odd midweek. We've got SPL, Turkey, France. It's not the full set. If we look at rare level, there are more than 4 times the amount of entries in capped 240 than there are in capped 270.
Yes.
And cap 270, like let me just pull this up for a minute. Let's just go for the live one. if we go to cap 270 and we look at the prize pool, first gets a star rare and a tier 2 super rare. Second gets a star rare and a tier 3 super rare. And then it pays T1s to 9th, it pays T2s to 44th, tier 3s to 114. But there's actually only 1,000 people that have entered that one. And there's close to 5,000 in cap 240, which again has decent prizes, obviously has the threshold. But the threshold, I think, is really, really influencing people's decision to want to go in at 240. Whereas I was looking at it, and for me, the cards that I had, it made sense to go for 270. There's also some, for a midweek, there's some pretty tasty prizes in 270, and people seem to just be, completely overlooking that. And I'd love to get your thoughts on it, because I love the, sort of psychology behind decision making. And I was thinking about this coming into the game week, because like straight away I was like, oh, I want to check like where are people playing their cards when given that choice of A or B. I'm honestly now, and I was talking about it in the Discord earlier, for me, capped mode 270 becomes a priority over all-star rare, unless I have like a team that week that is like absolute smashers. But then for me, if I've got absolute smasher rares, I'm going to want to play them in All-Star Rare Pro or America Rare Pro. So I just feel like there's been a real fundamental shift in how I look at what are my most important lineups. Like, I really want to go for the super rare cap 240 and aim for the threshold, because I just think I've got some cards that fit that. But as time goes on, it might be that those cards graduate. I can't get a decent lineup in under 240 points. I look at 270. But honestly, for me, looking at rare right now, particularly this coming weekend, I really like the odds. If the ratios stay the same, and I might have to leave this podcast. I'm just going to keep this a couple of days, Josh. We're going to put this out after the weekend deadline. But no, honestly, like looking at it, I think the entries in, like, people seem to be prioritizing 240 over 270. And I think that while we have this sort of competition discovery phase where people decide where they're putting what, I think there's going to be some real opportunities to win prizes and potentially softer competition. But yeah, I'd love to get your thoughts on that. That's just sort of observation, your thoughts, and sort of how you're thinking of prioritizing with the gallery that you've got.
Yeah, I'd completely forgotten about the super rare threshold. I was looking at the weekend being like, I'm just going to roll my lineup in cap 270 because hardly anyone seems to be playing there. Because there's like 12. I know we're obviously like an hour after the game week's open, so there's not going to be lots of lineups submitted. But there's like 12 lineups submitted so far in comparison to 70 in cap 240 super rare. Yeah. And I've got a decent lineup. I've got the FC Twente defensive stack against Groningen, so Understall and proper. I've got Divine Wrench as my extra, Robert Lubicic in midfield, and Luke de Jong up front. And so I'm quite happy playing that in cap 270. I think it comes in at like 257 or something as the cap score. Listeners will have to excuse me today. I have got a bit of a cold. Excuse me. So yeah, and I've just had a look. I can actually swap. If I swapped proper out for Valchi, I could run it in 240 and try and chase that threshold. But to be honest, I think I might just keep it in cap 270 because you get tier 1 supers down to 4th, and there's obviously podium uniques up for grabs. I like uniques. I like chasing uniques. They're always good fun. Even if I get a rubbish one, I'm still quite happy. But yeah, in terms of your thoughts, I think what my read on it is that if you don't have absolute smasher cards, playing cap 270 is better than playing all-star rare, because you can't come up against, like, the chance of you coming up against Kimmich or like, etc., who, some Wales will play an all-star rare, is very, very slim, because obviously they've got such high L15. So if you've got a team which fits under the 270 cap, I do feel you're at a detriment playing that in all-star rare over the rest of the competition, and actually playing it in cap 270 where you feasibly can't come up against too many of the the elite cards. Then I think that's a much better play essentially. than sticking that in All-Star Rare. Obviously, All-Star Rare, you have better rewards. It's going to be better. You've got Star Rares down to 15th in All-Star Rare, whereas at Cap 270 you've only got Star Rares down to 6th. So it's good. The prizes in All-Star Rare seem to be better, although obviously you don't get the super rare prizes. You do get an ETH podium, which I'd prefer to have over the super rare prizes, I think. So I think the prize pool in All-Star is a little bit better. If you have elite cards, then you should obviously still be playing them in the All-Star competitions, obviously starting with Pro first and then All-Star Rare. But if you have a team that fits in that All-Star, in that Cap 270 mode, and it's like a choice between either or, playing All-Star or Cap 270, I think definitely the better choice is to play Cap 270. And if you hit big, then you're likely going to score well anyway. Versus if you hit big with like a team with an L15 average 270, say everything goes great and you score 425 points in All-Star Rare, that's probably high tier 1, maybe you squeak a star with that kind of score. But really, when you look at previous results, you're probably needing sort of 440, 450 upwards to get like a star or a podium in that sort of region. You have to fact check me on that, but I'm pretty sure I'm correct. Whereas in Cap 270, I imagine you're up there, right? You're probably podiuming, maybe winning.
I think if you go 400 plus in Cap 270, I think you can feasibly expect to be amongst it. I think this is what fascinates me about these changes is every decision now feels more relative to your gallery, as opposed to like historically under the old format. I could tell you, like this last weekend, right? I had planned my team for All-Star Rare Pro for the return of Argentina about 8 weeks out. Like I knew what I was playing where every single weekend because, All-Star Rare Pro was, and don't get me wrong, still is the best, in my opinion, best division on the platform. However, now, particularly with the changes in prize allocation, where suddenly, your super rare divisions have got a bit of a boost. You've now got these choice of 3 capped modes as to where you can play your super rares. You've got the choice of capped modes in rares. Suddenly, it's not as cut and dry to be able to say, this is the best competition. This is the best place to play your cards, because it's all going to depend on form, it's going to depend on fixtures, it's going to depend on the L15. And I actually think it makes it really exciting. Like I could, most of my lineups for the last couple of weeks just have been pretty similar. I might sub a player out in here and there, but I kind of roughly knew who I was playing where and in what divisions. Whereas now I feel I'm going into this weekend thinking, oh, I've got some decisions to make here. And I think that makes it quite exciting because, someone else with a different gallery would look at the competitions and choose to prioritize them differently. And I think that adds a really, really exciting strategy element, particularly if we're seeing that, people just default go into 240 because there is threshold and actually overlook the potential of competing in 270 versus, maybe Challenger Rare. Like I'm going to sacrifice like maybe Challenger Rare or All-Star Rare this week to play 270. Like that decision I have made. I just want to see like actually when I lay the lineups down, like what it looks like. Because I've got a few cards I think that could actually be really, really useful in that division.
Yeah, nice. I am not going to play Rare 270 this week actually because I don't think my Challenger Rare fits under the 270. No, it definitely doesn't. 60, 60, 60, 50. Yeah. So I'm probably just a bit over. So I'll play. And again, like I still do feel like the better rewards are in Challenger Rare. Stars down to 10th. Cap 270 has stars down to 6th. Obviously, there are super rare prizes, but again, sort of compensating in Challenger Rare with the ETH prize pool for the podium.
Yeah.
So I think I'll still play like my best rare team in Challenger Rare and not in 270. And like I say, I don't think it fits inside 270 anyway.
So what you're saying is you've got better cards than me, Josh. It's all right. It's all right. No, I think the dynamic for me will change a lot when, as America and Asia come back fully online.
And same for me with Austria and Russia. When I get those guys, but I'm not actually sure how many goalkeepers I'm going to have extra. I think this is the main thing for me as well, Tex. If I had more goalkeepers, I probably would run a cap 270 because I've got the outfielders. But
so there's seven super rares in capped rare 270 this week. Top 6 pay star rares and a tier 2 or a tier 3 super rare. Like that feels really good. And at the moment, if we look at the ratios, I know again it's obviously early days, but 1,100 managers in cap 240, 250 managers in cap 270.
Yeah.
And there's total of prizes paid down to 326.
Yeah, I feel like when they introduced the kickoff tournaments and people that actually prioritized them did really well. I remember the unique kickoff, you could play with a unique and like 4 limiteds, and obviously it's unique, so the barrier to entry was quite high. But I remember people prioritized those. They gave out star rares in that prize pool, and you didn't actually need that big a score. And then obviously the biggest one was when they first introduced underdog rare, wasn't it? And that was giving out star rares. And Temberleek, one of your Discord members, won it and won camera cutter Vickers with a score that and there was like 2,000 entrants in underdog, and then the next week there was 10,000 entrants in underdog because people realized that you could win. That was way. So I always think when they introduce these new prize pools, there's always like a delayed, like people are still wondering what to do and where's best to play, etc. And if you can really pinpoint that accurately initially, or even not even pinpoint where's best to play, just pinpoint where lots of other people aren't playing, you can get like an edge on the rest of the competition and potentially win like a soft week. And I feel like this weekend coming, the 270 cap competitions are going to be the ones that are going to be the soft tournaments. And, you could potentially get some, like, it wouldn't surprise me if the score that wins cap 270 rare this week is less than the score that wins cap 240.
Yeah. It's going to be some wild stuff like that, right? As people discover where they want to play their cards. Because I remember that there was a time I won the under 23 specialist with a really soft score, and I won Pedri. But that week, I remember it was really odd because Sarah didn't actually advertise the prize pool. You could only see it in medium. You couldn't see it in the So Rare lineup selection area. So I think everyone just looked at it and went, there's no prizes on this, and just like skipped by. And I was like, oh no, I've read the medium and there's star cards up for grabs. Put my lineup there, ended up winning it. But I'll admit, it was a really soft week. So I love this changeover period where we have new competitions entered, because I think, like you said, some people are just going to default pick 240 because that's where threshold is. That was the first one that was advertised. And then suddenly we had this like 220 and 270 added in, and people I don't think have had as long to process that or think about it and decide what they want to do. Whereas I think for me, just looking at the ratios now and looking at the ratios of entrants, unless this pod gets listened to by 100,000 people before the weekend, which I don't think it's going to be. But our 300 loyal managers are all going to follow us into 270, and maybe we'll all win. But I think, I just think that this is going to be fascinating this weekend. And imagine you get a podium in cap 270. Particularly for guys like with galleries like ours. Imagine if you pull down a star rare and a tier 2 super rare for finishing on the podium in cap 270.
Yeah.
That strengthens, probably all-star rare pro lineups. That would strengthen your capped 240 super rare. Like, it really is, like, I do think that they've baked a lot of progression into this, the way that they have reallocated the rewards. Sorry. Yeah,
no, I definitely agree. I was looking at my goalkeepers. I've got Super Air Schlager to come back when Austria comes back, and that's on the 17th of February. So that's, not this weekend, not next weekend, but all after. So that's not that long. And then when Russia comes back, I've hopefully got Zhanayev rare and super rare with an L15 of 31. So that is that's really nice. And then when Norway comes back, I've got Andre Hansen on L15 31 and Rune Jarstein, who's training with Odd this week. So if he signs for Odd, he's got an L15 of 0. So that would be not until April, but still, like, those are some really nice goalkeeping options to come back, which I'm quite excited for as well.
That was who was in, actually, when we were talking about the Star Super Rare pool for Tier 2. Andre Hansen was sat right at the bottom end of the Tier 2 pool. And I was thinking, I would love another goalkeeper. Like, if I win, regardless of what tiers they are, if I win a goalkeeper today, I'm going to be absolutely ecstatic based on this exact conversation we're having around, like, we might need another goalkeeper.
As long as it's not Joe Lewis.
Wow, as long as it's not Joe Lewis. The price curve of Joe Lewis is
crazy.
One of the most wild ups and downs I've seen. Just fascinating. It really is. Like, it's gone, like, it looks like the edge of a saw blade. Like, it's up and down and up and down and up and down and up and down. And, like, even it just is funny because, like, I think yesterday morning I commented on Twitter being like, oh lol, imagine if they sign another goalkeeper. And then about 4 hours later, the Jay Gorton news breaks. And it was funny because some people commented on my post being like, oh, stop winding us up, Tekkers, like, giving me stick. And they'd obviously hadn't seen the Gorton news that had come out after that. I think Mark Lele was one. He was like, oh, don't joke about this kind of thing, Tekkers. And then someone else wrote underneath being like, yeah, you might want to check the news on that one. It was also funny as well because someone came in quite hot on response to my tweet saying it wasn't Joe Lewis's fault, it was the fault of the defenders. Coincidentally, they did have a Joe Lewis or two on sale, so I always do enjoy that when I've got no skin in the Joe Lewis game. I just, whenever new managers come in, there's always it's always a fear of change, right? We got, I got done by change of manager at Anderlecht and Van Kronbrugge finding his way to the bench. So, it happens a lot, and it just felt like, anyone who it goes back to back and their solo score is single digits probably didn't have the best of games. So I have no intention of watching many SPL games, but I think I could get a good indication from the score that things weren't looking too secure for Joe.
Yeah, I do. I won a rare, so I did keep him because I was going to play him, and then obviously the Gorton news came. Well, actually, I didn't keep him because I was going to play him. I kept him because I was like, if this guy is going to start for the next 6 weeks, I'm not selling him at 0.1. Like, that just seems crazy. But now he's like, value is at 0.03, so maybe 0.1 was a good out. But there you go.
Mate, keep backup goalkeepers, right? You never know.
Yeah. And how old is he now? He's old, isn't he? 35, Jesus. Yeah, I was thinking maybe he gets like a transfer to the Championship or something, but that seems very, very, very unlikely. But anyway, at least as a training, we don't need training goalkeepers anymore.
Yeah, I was going to say, talking of the Championship, I'm here constantly refreshing Twitter today, hoping that Etienne Green gets a move. I've got a lot of goalkeepers in the graveyard at the moment, and I'm hoping that a few of them.
I've had a resurgence. One goalkeeper I hadn't factored in was Nico Mantle because he's gone to. I've got loads of under 23s that have suddenly come out that would work with Verbruggen, Mantle, and Gorta. The only goalkeeper play that hasn't paid off for me, I think, is the biggest one, which was obviously Livakovic and Neverstitch. So
hasn't paid off for you yet.
Well, he's not going right now, is he?
There's still chance. Premier League side coming in for him, coming in hot last minute, like Everton and Southampton have done to my poor Kamaldeen Sulemana. The highs and lows on that one. Seeing Rick tweet that PSV had made a bid, and then they got gazumped by, bang average Premier League sides.
I just don't understand. Like, he's got a release clause of €10 million. Like, he's just surely someone just pays that.
Yeah,
but no, apparently not.
What's baffling is Forest, who seem to love a signing, linked to Keylor Navas.
Yeah, see,
Like,
the Forest
clearly,
fans are saying they should buy Livakovic, and I'm all for that.
I'm gonna be honest. Like, how did Forest scouts not watch the World Cup? Like, they're like, yeah, there was a goalkeeper at the World Cup that did really, really well. Can you remember his name? Yeah, no, he's really cheap. We can get him at a really good price. Yeah, do you know what his name was? Yeah, I think it was Navas. He had a really, really good game in the semi-final.
Oh dear.
Yeah, that like Navas just looks spent. Like I don't
Yeah.
get why you think that Navas is going to be the goalkeeper that keeps them in the Premier League. Spoiler, he's not. Livakovic would have been it,
Yeah, I didn't get it, and that would have opened up Neverstitch. But we'll roll with that one.
But if anyone's going to go last minute, then you'd imagine that Zagreb would be happy to sell, knowing that they have Neverstitch.
Yeah, and that's basically Kakic has said, like, nobody's leaving apart from Dominic Livakovic if someone pays the release clause. Because Lauritsen has left. Lauritsen's gone to some Danish team, I think. Brøndby, I believe. So that's a nice move for him. I have a rare. I don't know when they start playing again. Does anyone know when they start playing again? Brøndby. I'm sure they're covered. They must be in the Danish league or something.
I do. Give me a second. I can pull up my calendar because I'm pretty sure I've got the Danish league in there because I'm waiting for that glorious Nico Mantle 0-point cap hit.
Yes.
Talking of that, what's Gorta's? 50. Gorta's got to be on 0 as well, isn't he?
Yeah, he's 0.
Okay, so maybe you should be going for Gorta's your cap mode goalkeeper this weekend for sure, right?
Yeah,
he'll still be 0
220 actually
because they won't have. Will you put him cap 220 because you can play the rare in super rare cap 220 if you want to.
Oh,
there we go. Now we're opening up some choice for you. Don't waste him in rare cap 220.
But I haven't got a I've only got one super rare forward, which I'm using super rare cap 270.
It's now a good time to offer you a loan, or are we not on that at the
moment? Yeah, that good. I will.
Danish Super League. The Danish Super League is back in game week 347, which is between the 17th and the 21st of February.
So same as Austria. Okay, perfect.
A week after Austria, by the looks of it.
Oh, is it? Oh,
yeah,
is Austria back next weekend?
That's what I've got. I need to double check that it's the most up to date, but I've got Austria playing on game week 345 in my mega calendar.
Oh yes, please.
Yeah,
that would be superb.
Because that's going to be delightful. I'm really, really looking forward to that week. I was thinking about buying up a bunch of DNP players that will start, like Mantle, like João Paulo, because of how Joe Lewis's price responded when he had an L15 of 2. But the one thing that I do worry about is that in the draft modes, So Rare have a minimum 40-point hit.
Yeah.
And I do worry that they might just introduce that to the cap
Stop
modes.
The cheat code sorts of things.
Yeah, I would be really annoyed if they did it. I wouldn't rule it out. And that's the only thing that stopped me from literally sweeping up like 10 Nico Mantles, sitting on them for 2 weeks and then relisting them on the day.
Yeah.
And people are like, oh, he's 0. Because I did find it fascinating how much people were willing to pay for Joe Lewis to win a $5 threshold. I was like, I feel your calculations are maybe a little bit off here, lads, because I'm not sure what the resale on old Joey's going to be, even before there was, another goalkeeper linked. It just felt like people were willing. People got so excited, and there was so much FOMO around getting someone that would play with such a low cap score hit that his price just went crazy really quickly and limited. And I'm like, guys, I suppose they're playing for actually, they want to win stars, they want to win cards up there. But it did feel that there was a very rapid escalation on his demand and his price as a result. And I feel like a smart trading strategy, should So Rare not change the rules of engagement, would be to just patiently sit on a couple of low cap score guys and wait for the week that they play.
Yeah, definitely. I think that's a good shout. I think the issue I've had, Tex, is that I've got like some guys with L15s of 0, but then I don't have like excess good enough cards to play them with where I actually get anywhere near the cap score anyway. Like in my cap 220, I've got Gorter in there, but I've still got like, and then 4 other guys that are all going to play. But I've still got 34 excess points. I'm making like a cap 186.
Yeah, which just seems like a big waste, right?
Exactly. Yeah.
What can you win? Hang on a second. What can you win in capped 220 super rare where you could feasibly play a rare goalkeeper?
Tier 2 super rares at best.
Yeah, your upside there is tier 2 super rares. So top 6 get a tier 2 super rare. 7th through to 35th get a tier 3 super rare.
Yeah, so it's not great, but
here's a question for you. Oh no, it's not there yet. I wanted to have a look at the pools. I wanted to see. They haven't generated them yet. That's a shame. I wanted to see who was there. But we could look for midweek, can't we?
You can win tier 1 rares in cap 220 rare. So I think cap 220 rare is better than cap 220 super rare.
So hang on, let's have a quick look at the cap 270 midweek. What are the super rares that you can win in capped? So, Mark Bartra and Leonardo Sigali. I
feel like the tier 2s can always be like useful. But I never like Bartra's got an L15 of 58. Jesus.
Yeah.
Like I never feel like the tier, and he scored 100. Not last game, but the one before. I feel like when I've got a tier 2, I'm like, okay, this could actually be something semi-usable. When I get a tier 3, I'm like, this is just going to be utter dross.
Marco Grull, that would be a tasty super rare to have.
Yeah, if I wasn't going to get Aaron Moy, I hoped I could get Marco Grull out of the out of my pool today.
Salazar as well, of Fenerbahce. I don't know what his scores like recently, but I remember him being good before.
Yeah, not been great. He's been playing left back, I think.
Yeah, there's a few goalkeepers in here as well. Andre Hansen's one. There's David Jensen, who's playing in Turkey now. Like I would be quite happy playing for tier 2 super. Oh, Youssef En-Nesyri of Sevilla. That would be a pull. Wow. He's been injured for a while and he just come back. One you don't want to pull, York Seibenhandel. He's sat in there lurking. Or maybe we do. Do you think he's still going to play?
He's not going to play. He's not going to play, but he is going to transfer to Reed at the end of the season.
Oh, okay. I was going to say, like, does he have another, more time left of his career? He's not going to retire or go to the second division as.
Don't remind me.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think Seaman Handel's going to transfer to Reed at the end of the season, but I'm not 100% sure. That's not confirmed.
Yeah. You're right. Like, if you look at the so then that's your sort of tier 2s. If we go to capped rare and look at what's in your T1s, there's Prem cards in here.
Yeah.
Saliba, Muslera, Loris.
Oh, Saliba would be nice for a tier 1.
Yeah. There's Hans Vanaken, Florentina Luis. Like, actually, yeah, your tier 1 rares. There's definitely there's some quality in that pool. Maybe there we go. Maybe it is 220 cap 220 rare. Does make sense for you, but then it does feel like if you go that with a 0 point hit, it does feel like you're either wasting a load of cap space or you are pulling in your absolute best rares into
this is what I'm just
a division where you've got an upside of a tier 1 rare, whereas actually, your challenger side is a lot stronger than mine. It feels like more sense to go for a star in challenger rather than that.
Yeah, so how much? So you can get 220, so 110. So you can have 55 for the other 4 positions, right? On average. So I'm just looking. I could move my Cap 240 lineup into Cap 220 and just change, and obviously just keep Gorter in goal. But like, my Cap 240 lineup's right on the cap. It's like 2-3-1 actually is the cap here. So it's Mignolet, Windell, Bochkai, Ademi, and Burak Yilmaz. Burak Yilmaz, what a guy, by the way. Just can't stop scoring. Just gets DAs every game at the minute.
In Cap 240, you could win Star
Rares. Yeah.
And like, if you hit podium in any of these cap modes, you're 240s and 270s, it's a good week. Like,
yeah.
Maybe you need to play Gorter in Cap 240 and upgrade a few of the other points.
Take Bochkai out because I'm not 100% sure he plays. Let's see what this does for me. So Gorter. I mean, I love we're talking about Gorter. Who have Aberdeen got? Motherwell at home.
You don't need to look, Josh. It's just 0 points. If he doesn't beat his cap, then something's gone horribly wrong. Even Joe Lewis managed a 3.
Yeah. So I could literally bring in my best L15, which is Carl Starfelt, which obviously I wouldn't do that because he's playing in Challenger Rare. Wow. Yeah, I could actually make a ridiculous Cap 240 side here if I play Jay Gorter in goal.
What's the choice you're looking at? To where we realise that Aberdeen are playing Celtic away.
No, so they've got
St Mirren.
Motherwell. They've got Motherwell at home the weekend. They've got St Mirren.
St Mirren's midweek. Yeah.
So I could play Jay Gorter in goal in Cap 240, Jurian Timber, Filip Krivinovic, Carl Starfelt, and Marco Lavaya, and that gives me another. That's 2-3-1 on the cap.
That feels like guaranteed threshold there, Josh.
Yeah, I mean, but then obviously that sort of ruins Challenger Rare. I basically just need to buy more cards. I think is the answer, Tekkers. More good cards.
I mean, I already know I need more goalkeepers. I'm
gonna
have to get straight out to the market for that. See, I've got a lot of bad cards. I'll be honest. I've been hoovering up T2 and T3 prizes for a long time. Yeah. I've got a lot of trash in my gallery that's ready to be a facilitator in one of these cap modes. I have been, to be fair, over the last month or so, I've been buying cards with this in mind, like, situational players. Like, I really jumped in on Jose Paradella of River, who already has contributed because he was in my specialist last week and he helped win. But I got a couple of players there, and also even some of my recent rewards. So like Andrej Kramaric is sitting with 43 point L15 average, and they're playing Bochum this weekend, which feels like a decent fixture, a good chance for him to score. So, yeah, I'm really, really looking forward to just sort of trawling through a bunch of the cards that I wouldn't normally play, but could have a lot of use as these facilitators. I suppose the question here, I mean, I've done it in midweek just because I had Conor McGregor, and seeing Celtic home tie against Livingston was just too juicy to pass up. But for the current week, I have actually put in a limited Cap 270.
Wow!
So I've gone for. Okay, nice.
Yeah,
I've gone for a Konyaspor defensive stack. Because they are playing Istanbulspor, who've like barely scored all season. I've gone for Sehic and Calvo. I've then gone for McGregor and Furuhashi. And then I got Pedri as well, who was just there and sort of, in my team hit the cap. It just felt like I had a couple of cards with good spots this week. So I was like, okay, I'm going to go and grab the Konyaspor boys, because like that literally got me in dead on cap. That was 270 points. And it just felt like that combination of players, like Pedri's not got the easiest of games, but I just, he fit. I wasn't going to go out and buy too many cards. I just, the Konyaspor boys you could get for quite cheap. But I mean, that, like, what are we playing for here? Like, top 14 win a star limited.
Yeah.
Like that feels That feels pretty decent. But sort of what I was leading into is I didn't intend to prioritize limited capped modes, but maybe now I will keep a few and play tactically. But what's your sort of thoughts on scarcities? Like, what sort of cap modes are you looking at yourself?
Yeah, I'm not really focusing on the limited ones. I do actually have a lineup this week in Cap 270 just because it's sort of rolled over from my specialist lineup last week that I played. So it's just David Marshall, Emir Dilivar, Dino Peric, Mio Cactus, and Anna Valencia, which I'm running in Cap 270 because it doesn't fit in the 240 cap I think.
Yeah.
What have we got? So yeah, L15 of 255. But yeah, basically, and I feel like with these new cap modes, I actually feel like the higher up you are, the better. So I was having like a reasonable debate with myself this morning of like just selling all my rares and buying uniques and super rares and just like going completely mental.
That does sound completely mental.
Yeah, and I've decided that I'm not going to do it because I'm basically I don't have the cojones to do it. But I do feel like that's where like your best opportunity to win is. Like if the higher you can get, these unique cap modes.
Yeah.
And like if I bought say 9 uniques, obviously I probably wouldn't be able to get 9 uniques. But if I bought less than 10 uniques, I can then enter unique kickoff and these sorts of tournaments as well, which I think also is cool. So yeah, so I think like the best. I think like the higher you can get, the better, basically. And obviously, like I'm not going to do what I said, but I don't feel like it's as terrible.
What I think would be fascinating about unique accessibility is, in theory, a greater spread of managers will be winning uniques as a result of these new game modes. So suddenly it's not, I've got to go in at auction or try and grab a unique from someone that's very, very established. You might have the opportunity to negotiate fair rates with someone that's maybe won it and doesn't intend to play in unique kickoff, for example.
Yeah,
like I think that'll be quite interesting in terms of the sort of market dynamics of who wins the uniques. Let me have a look. I want to see actually what's up.
There's no actually prize pool up for like the cap unique divs at the minute.
I'm looking. Oh my goodness! Thomas Müller is in the capped unique pool.
He's not been great recently, has he?
He hasn't, no. But I feel like he's been injured for a while.
Yeah.
Oh, Calimendo of Rennes. Hang on, let me just double check. So, what can we win if we're this weekend? If we were to play a capped super rare, what's the highest tier that we can win?
Oh, that's a good idea. Tier 2, right? Cap 270 super rare, tier 2 unique for coming first. There's no cards available, unfortunately.
And 240 gives you a tier 3.
Yeah.
Okay, so if we look at the midweek prize pool,
cool.
They've got uniques at tier 1 shown. Uniques they've got in tier 2. Horovsky. Imagine if I win Horovsky again. Only 2 uniques have ever won exactly the same guy. Gus Till. Who else is in here? I'm going to be honest, I do not recognize a lot. Oh, Willian of Fulham is a tier 2 unique. Isn't he having quite a good season?
Yeah, he's doing okay, crossing to Alexander Mitrovic.
I know he's old, but he...
I'll tell you who else is old and in the tier 2 unique pool.
I wouldn't mind winning a Prash unique. That would be useful.
That would be nice. Sergio Ramos is in there, Tex.
Oof, nice. When's he going to Saudi?
Yeah.
When's Saudi going to be covered? Wout Faze of Leicester. He'll be good in the Championship next season.
There's some really nice H&L cards in this tier 2 unique pool.
Yeah, there really is.
The Foxer, Mio Coctus. Yeah, I mean,
There you go.
to be
There's
honest,
actually absolutely loads.
I wouldn't mind. Yeah, it's a huge pool, isn't it? I mean, doubt you
Yeah, it
actually get
really
one of the
is.
good ones. Like Ivan Perisic is in there, is in there as well.
Who's right at the bottom?
Miguel Arrojo from Emen.
Yeah. I mean, basically, these would all be absolutely ideal for unique kickoff because I can
Yeah.
guarantee you they have an average under 55. But yeah, there's some fairly useful cards. I mean, someone like Andrew Farrell, right? New England Revolution. He's literally right at the bottom of the T2 unique pool. Like he'd have a bit of use in the weeks that New England are playing at home. He'd be quite decent actually. Who else have we got here? I'm going to be honest. I thought I had pretty decent football knowledge, but I recognise about 20% of the names here. Coletta Carr, is he playing for Southampton?
He is playing for Southampton, yeah.
I feel there's a few players here that have been put into the pools because they were auctioned previously,
Right,
but so
yeah.
rarely use their old prices. Like I saw Casemiro, like I'm in the mix for a T1 rare this week. And Casemiro's like right at the bottom of the T1 rare pool for All Star. Like, but he seems to be having quite a good season with Man United. I don't know how much he's going to sell for, but I feel like if I get a Casemiro as a T1, I'd probably be pretty happy.
Yeah.
To be honest, if I get any Premier League card this week, I'll be happy because we'll probably be immediately selling it for a fairly decent price. Yeah, okay, cool. This is not making for good viewing because I don't recognise many of these players at all.
And we're just looking through the prize pools without
We're
anyone
just
else being
basically,
able to.
yeah. So the next 10 minutes, Josh and I are going to sit and build our lineups in silence. Occasionally, you're going to hear, "Oh yeah, that guy's got a decent fixture. Oh yeah, I might put him in." Yeah, it makes for different viewing, really, doesn't it? Right, that's it. I'm going to start looking at that now.
Yeah, but so I feel like the prize pools are. I feel like they've done the prize pools quite well. Is what I'm saying. Like, yeah, if you've got your absolute smasher cards, you still play them in your regionals and your All Star, and then your ones like your second rate cards. I think you're best playing in your cap divisions basically, which I think is how it should be. And if you've if you don't have absolute smashers, this gives you an avenue to play against other players that also don't have absolute smashers. If that
absolutely.
I think it just against the absolute bully boys.
Yeah, I think it gives a lot more options for galleries of all sizes.
Yeah,
to find a level that they can compete on, which I think is really, really great. And yeah, I think as what, like, I know we sort of mentioned it briefly earlier, but I think it changes the selection dynamic, and I think that's a lot of fun. I think it's it's going to there's going to be a huge element of skill in this, in finding the players within your gallery, or maybe players that you need to go out and buy to fill a spot that have good fixtures. No longer is it simply a case of I'm just going to buy a Celtic stack and clean up. Don't get me wrong, you can still do very well with the Celtic stack. It's not like, what I like about this is they've not removed utility from one type of card to give it to another. Is that they've introduced new game modes that give, in my opinion, all cards utility. What I am sort of fascinated about is, as someone that owns a bunch of bang average super rares, what impact does this have on the sort of perceived multiple on super rares? And do we see more liquidity in that market? Do we see a sort of shifting of the ratios of value from one scarcity to another? Because I know sort of typically 3 to 5 times the rare was always banded around for super rare. But you occasionally see cards lower than that, particularly goalkeepers, for example. Goalkeepers sometimes it'd be like 1.2x the rare because there was very few places you'd actually want to play them. Whereas now, I feel like there's definitely a lot more utility for super rare goalkeepers. There's a lot more utility for average super rares. Like historically, a big part of the not wanting to play Division 2 was there were so few top tier rewards
Yeah.
And the lower tier rewards, you are never going to put, like, they were not very useful in D2. They were not very useful in D3, and you certainly weren't going to plug them into All-Star Unique, for example. Whereas now I feel like there's utility through that range of super rares. So then it makes the Division 2s or the super rare division, it makes that more desirable because suddenly what you're winning might have some liquidity to it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Which I think
And
just
can be
all comes
helpful.
as part of this sort of package around the gameplay changes. Is there will be weeks like before this change, despite the fact I could line up a super rare team, I had zero intention of lining up super rare teams. Now they've made this change. There could be weeks, for example, where it might be an Argentina heavy week that I actually have a pretty solid super rare side. So I might actually want to roll that out. And I think this just makes it really exciting, is it's not just like putting the same teams out every single week and hoping they do well. There's a lot more thought around it. But I get, that luxury comes with gallery depth. So, not everyone will have that same luxury, but I do think that it does, this does incentivize gallery depth. It does incentivize, secondary market behavior to sort of maybe buy a player to fill a spot week in, week out. And I'm really, really fascinated the sort of impact on the market of the launch of the Prem and this as well.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm really excited for these new gameplay changes. Actually, I think it's been especially like helpful towards a gallery like mine that's always sort of had excess super rares, which have just basically done nothing. But yeah, I just need some more goalkeepers. I've just realised next weekend I don't have Scottish Premier League playing, so I lose my Joe Harts. So I'm down on goalkeepers even more next weekend. So might need to do something to try and get around that, but we'll see.
Well, hopefully this T1, these good cards you got coming in today. Hopefully, we'll be winning goalkeepers today, Josh.
Yeah, love winning the goalkeeper. Love winning the goalkeeper.
Absolutely. And without further ado, I think it might be time to draw this to an end because the excitement of going and building my lineups is really really starting to take over.
That was good.
Awesome. Thank you so much. It's been a pleasure.
Thanks, mate. See you later.
Bye.